Joining us now is OjyOkpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, G.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. How are you this morning?
Yeah.
Great. Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm doing great.
Perfect. Good morning, Rufi on fire.
Morning, Oji. How
are you this morning?
Pushing.
Are we pushing? I thought we were still excited from the event. Yes, it felt like over the weekend, but it was on a Monday. Did you see that turnout?
My week. I felt yesterday was a Thursday or Friday. I couldn't believe it was just Tuesday.
I'm still trying to catch up on sleep. Well, all right. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending in Kano State, where Max Air aircraft landed on Tuesday at Malam Aminu, Kano International Airport. The aircraft, which was arriving from Lagos, had 53 passengers and 6 crew members on board. Well, according to a passenger report, the incident occurred after the plane's front tire burst into flames at around 10:19 p.m. Passengers on board the flight were said to have been evacuated safely from the aircraft without any major injuries. Preliminary report says the aircraft may have lost the nose landing gear tire during landing. This incident is coming barely a week after a United Airlines flight to Washington, D.C. with 245 passengers, 3 pilots and 8 flight attendants returned to Lagos after an unexpected aircraft movement and a technical issue. That plane actually landed safely in Lagos, and 4 passengers and 2 flight attendants were seen at the hospital for the minor injuries have been released. We are hearing that the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board said on Monday that it's investigating the incident. I know that also NCAA here are still conducting the investigation, and we are waiting for the report. I believe that they said it will be released by February. But going to this Max incident, I'm just, appalled at the recent... Yeah. I don't even know how to describe it. Is it tragedy? It's horrific to see that these airline or aircraft incidents, especially the Boeing aircrafts, are having this sort of malfunction. Only in December, we had the Jeju incident, almost the same thing. Thank God for Max, there was no tragic incident. This Jeju airline, the same thing. The landing gear did not release properly and it crashed into concrete. And, I think that the investigation really needs to go on with Boeing, especially because, you remember, I believe it was 2 years ago where we had the Boeing incident and the Boeing in Ethiopia killing people because of this sort of malfunction. For Max Air, like the passenger said, they said it was the tire that burst, and it appears that it's the same thing. Maybe the tires didn't come off or something like that. Rufai.
You see, the truth has to be said. Boeing had a merger in the 90s. There's a documentary to that effect, and people will go and see it. I think about 96, and they had a big merger. And once other parties came, Boeing's standard of quality dropped. Because people started to compromise things in Boeing. The investigations are there as regards Boeing. If you just go in and say investigations of, malpractices in Boeing and everything, you will see a lot of materials there. And that has been a problem with Boeing. Boeing has been fighting to restore confidence all this while. So when we are seeing all of this, I'm not surprised. And to a large extent, we also need our local investigation here. It might not be because of the general problem with Boeing. What was the state of that aircraft? And you see, we also need to go one step further to an article based on an information David Ounde had a couple of months or years ago now, where he talked about the repetitive things of things like this happening. You also remember the case of an airline when there was water, in the fuel compartment. Also, we're talking about the United Airlines, which investigation is still also, we don't want to know, but if there's any case of complicity, that should be taken on. Because there was also a case that they said United Airlines, they fixed up the passengers, they took them to hospital, but some passengers, I've also heard complain that even the hotel that they took them to was below par and things like that and all of that, and they barely had windows to see and all of that. So we need more investigation. We would like to see the report of the Accident Bureau as regards this. We'd like to also watch if there's any level of complicity. We thank God for the lives of people, that are safe. But this is becoming one too many. Yeah. I know some people in the aviation sector will say, oh, you have all these crashes. Even if you check America, there are lots of them and all of that. is becoming one too many. We
becoming
don't want
one
to
too
go
many.
back to the days of where we used to have Sosoliso, Bellevue, repetitive crashes and all of that. No.
Yeah.
We want Nigerian, and kudos to those in the airline industry.
Yeah.
We've had some level of sanity for a while.
Yeah.
We want it to continue.
We want it to continue, and it's good that the report came out, early enough. I mean, if you recall the United Airlines aircraft incident, we were chatting about it. That report came out almost like 24, basically almost like 24 hours. What was that all about? I mean, we saw these reports, headlines already. Tragedy averted, literally 30 minutes after the incident occurred.
All right, so with this
Difference.
Max Air, it's a bit worrying because in 2023, 2 years ago, there was a Max Air that crash landed at the Nnamdi Azikiwe airport. The same thing. The fire burst into flames, and they had 144 passengers on ground. It had come from Yola Adamawa and crash landed there. Last year, December, another Max Air aircraft had also landed, emergency landing after takeoff from Borno just a few minutes afterwards. And the Borno deputy governor was actually on that flight. So while we praise the NCAA and other jurisdictions that govern the airspace and aircrafts in Nigeria, I think it's also an opportunity for us to take a closer look. If the Boeing aircrafts are the challenges, then perhaps we need to, as they would do a recall or an advisory warning for planes like this, then check it. We can't have similar incidents like this in the space of 2 years. Thank God that the lives were saved. In this instance was 53. In 2022 was 144. That would have been a national disaster. The one in Borno State last year, December last year, was about 80 passengers. So we need to actually look into these and investigate to understand why the tires are bursting into flames just as they're about to land. So maybe the landing gear, as you identified, as you cited, as it happened in Jeju. Jeju was also as a result of a bird strike as well. So they saw some feathers.
But I don't understand that, Jeju, really, because I mean, if the tires couldn't come out, right? Why didn't the pilot, hoover or even do the manual sort of release or something?
Maybe he was preparing for landing already, because the bird strike happened when it was on air, or in the air, and then it affected the landing gear. So I'm trying to navigate if he found it.
I mean, they were saying that the pilot was saying he had to land, he had to land. Really tragic incident, really Dr. Bati. Before I come to you, I'd like to take another incident that occurred, and maybe you tie both of them together. In Niger State, the police have confirmed another tanker explosion in the state. Well, according to the police, the petrol tanker lost control after its front tire burst and crashed into a drainage. The tanker was traveling from Lagos to Kaduna and caught fire on Monday, injuring the driver and his assistant, who were both taken to a hospital for treatment. Well, no fatalities were recorded. Well, this marks the second tanker explosion in Niger State and adds that, growing number of such incidents in the country. I'd like to take a tweet from Aisha Yusufu, who wrote, "The roads are terrible. Trucks and tankers keep failing, yet we refuse to see the effects of bad governance and corruption. We would rather say it's God's will." I mean, this is one too many incidents. Too many incidents. I mean, this tanker explosion. We've always been talking about the revamp of the system of transportation, especially those sort of explosive. How can you be traveling with petrol on the road where, human beings are traveling at the same time? Dr. Abati.
Okay, I wrote a very lengthy commentary on this particular incident yesterday.
Okay.
Following the incident that occurred, I think January 25, Saturday, along the Enugu-Onitsha expressway, Ugu-Onyema junction. And then before that, January 18, there was also an incident in this same Niger State. Before then, there was another one. And then this is the third one in this same Niger State. Now, when the other incident occurred, Governor Umar Mohammed Bago had said that he was banning, tankers, fuel tankers, from flying the Diko Bridge. I don't know the exact location where this occurred. But the more disturbing part of it is that in all of these incidents, including the one in Taraba, in Jalingo, Taraba, where the fuel tanker collided with a herd of cows, and the one in Jigawa, you see that people will just go and be scooping fuel. And we have discussed it before. Why have Nigerians become so suicidal? They know that this is toxic and inflammable material, and yet they are ready to die. Some people have said, well, it's poverty mentality. And that Nigeria is so bad, the cost of fuel having risen by over 400% between May 2023 and now, that people are even ready to die to have access to that same finished product. Oil has become the curse of Nigeria at all levels, and people are ready to die to just have access to it. Now, one of the recommendations of the federal government is that the National Orientation Agency should take up the task of educating the people. We had Lanre Isa Onilu on this program, the DG of NOAA. He says, well, they are ready to educate the people. They are ready to sensitize the people. It's not up to 1 week after the incident in Anambra State that you have this one again. And people still trooped out to go and scoop fuel. So the people don't trust their government.
Wait, was it in Anambra State or in Enugu State?
Is it Enugu State? Where it was on the expressway, Onitsha-Enugu expressway, January 25. Now, the people do not trust government, even when government is telling them, don't commit suicide, don't die. This thing is dangerous. They say, well, let us go and look at what is there first. In this particular incident, there have been no reports of death, but you never know when the next tragedy will occur. My own recommendation is that the drivers are quick. The Tanker Drivers Association of Nigeria, they are quick to say the rules are bad. That's why these tankers keep overturning. The truth also is that the tanker drivers themselves are sick. These are people who drive long hours. These are people who are half of the time stoned, fully accommodated within the ambit of drugs. And then the agencies don't do their work. The police, the FRSC, the emergency, the fire service, in terms of infrastructure, institutions, we are very weak. And that's why I think perhaps maybe the starting point for government. Some state governments have said tanker drivers should not ply the roads during daytime.
Yes.
They did it in Lagos, they did it in Anambra, they did it also in some other states. But these things don't work. Because within a matter of weeks, you will see the same tanker drivers on busy roads at any time. Because the owners of these tankers are very powerful Nigerians. The people who sponsor the same politicians who say they are making the policies. If a man has given you a lot of money for you to be elected governor, which policy are you going to do to disturb his business? So it's a cocktail of issues. I'll just try to summarize some of the things I said. Back page column this day yesterday. Finally, as to aviation safety. Now the manager of Max Air made the point that safety is important to Max Air. Well, safety is the most basic thing because there's no parking space in the air. And even if you don't land properly, whether it's the landing gear that has an issue or not, then of course lives are at risk.
Yes.
It's just a good thing that in this particular incident, nobody died. We have to keep insisting on with the authorities that, look, all these airlines operating in Nigeria must do due diligence in terms of maintenance. Some of these airlines have Tokumbo tires. They have what they call C checks, D checks. Do they do it regularly? The Accident Investigation Bureau has said it's going to investigate. The AED is also saying they will investigate this particular matter. Yes, they always do these investigations. How many times have we seen the report of the investigations that they carry out? So it's also about the failure of the system. Now, one of you mentioned Boeing. Now, Boeing has these problems, particularly with Boeing 737 MAX. I hope it's not Boeing 737 MAX. That Max Air, you are talking about Max Air, because the Boeing 737 Max have been withdrawn from the market. Boeing 737 has always regularly had accidents in Nigeria. 59.
Yes. I mean,
in total.
Yes.
You know, so it's only in that regard that you can say, okay, why is the Boeing aircraft always having issues, not just in Nigeria,
not
but
just
elsewhere.
in Nigeria. That's why I thought it was important.
But they have a new CEO.
Incident.
They have a new CEO who was summoned by Congress, and Boeing, that has even lost billions in terms of dollars, says they are going to pay more attention to the performance of their aircraft.
Yeah.
The problem with Boeing 737 MAX was a design problem. But I don't think that is the issue here. But that's something for AIB to come up with. But safety is number one.
Well, they always say that, traveling by air is the safest means of transportation, but the most tragic when an incident like this occurs, really. We're glad that our Nigerians are safe, and we hope to hear more from Max Air. Well, in Lagos State, at least 2 people have been confirmed dead after a 2-story building under construction collapsed on Tuesday at Mega Mall Estate in the Lekki area of the state. Rescue agencies fear more victims may still be trapped under the rubble. The National Emergency Management Agency coordinator in Lagos says the cause of the collapse remains unknown. A video from the scene shows emergency responders working tirelessly to rescue those who are still trapped. Let's take a look. I'm sure we've sent our reporters over there to monitor what's really going on at this moment, but look at this. This is just really a sad incident. Again, we have been talking about these substandard products. Rufai.
Oji, I'm scared. I saw a picture of a man pressed on the ground, dying, and they are negotiating how to save his life. They will not be caught in that situation.
Amen.
It's a very sad one. They say they don't know. Why are we lying to ourselves? It's substandard equipment now. People don't build following building codes and regulation again. And it's worse now that inflation is hitting hard on building materials. Even before inflation was hitting materials, hard on building materials, it was a terrible problem. Just look at that. Just imagine that man while he's fighting for his life. So please, we must put more enforcement in place. The laws must actually be followed. People must be found out. Whoever the developer is, must face the full music. But when you face the full music in this country, it's not a very major developer at some point that this thing happened to, that the Lagos State government did a deal and they forgave, that he paid some money. Don't we see how these things happen in this country? Yeah. If you are high and mighty in this country as a developer, you will go away with it. Some building collapsed somewhere in VI the other day. Developer has gone scot-free.
This has happened.
So as long as the developer is high and mighty, have links to people in power, he will go scot-free. They will just lock the building temporarily. Before you know it, they will go and open it again. So we need to follow up on this thing, and the law must be followed.
Well, all right.
But there's also something about quackery. The civil engineers, the professionals, they always advise when we have these problems that the developers or even the owners of the structures should always use professionals. Okay? Instead of going to get one Baba Kabiru, one Baba Suli to come and help you construct the work, you should look for certified engineers who know what the standards are.
And they're always cutting corners, trying to save money. That's
and then
the
it's for the government to enforce the rules in terms of standards.
All right. All right, let's take another story now. Following up with the detention of activist and a former presidential candidate, Omoyele Sowore, who was arrested after he confronted police officers who had stopped his vehicle at a checkpoint in Lagos. Well, in a new twist of events, the activist, in a post on X, said that he's now being charged for cybercrime for calling the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, an illegal IGP. Let me read his post on X. Omoyele wrote, Yele Sowore, claimed IG of Nigeria Police Force Kayode Egbetokun was illegal and incompetent. Then he, Egbetokun, quickly moved to court to file cybercrime charges with incorrect spellings of Sowore's first name, Omoleye. instead of Omoyele, and wrong spelling of insight instead of insight. I wrote insight. Well, he also wrote another tweet saying, these have to be some of the most ridiculous charges ever filed by Nigerian law enforcement agents. Yele Sowore to face charges for calling police retired and fired IGP Kayode Egbetokun illegal IGP. Chai, Nigeria, which was initially diminished, is now finished. Omoyele Sowore has a way with words, really, on Twitter. But, I mean, was he tweeting from... is he in detention at this point? I mean,
at the last time we heard...
Only yesterday we were talking. I thought that he was...
in detention.
So maybe somebody is tweeting on his behalf. But, I mean, the issue of cybercrime. I mean, I think I should ask Dr. Bati
about this. Let me just make a comment about this. Dr. Bati can give us the legal angle. And I do think we need to examine this cybercrime act because it's been used a lot, unfortunately, as a weapon for people who want to express themselves using social media, especially activists or people who are seen to speak against the government. There's still a number of outstanding cases which we brought to the table here, and I don't think anything has been done. Remember that lady who was accused of raining courses on the president's son, and because of that was picked up in Lagos and transported to Abuja. It's the same case as a number of people, innocent young people, in this case, activists like Omoyele Sowore, who are targeted using this Cybercrime Act. And that's why I'm saying that it is now a dichotomy between Cybercrime Act and freedom of speech and freedom of expression, and just being able, and stifling that for a lot of Nigerians, and using it as a weapon, no longer as an arm of the law, but as a weapon to target certain people. That's what it's looking like. And unfortunately, what you do when you do things like that is that you make people like these heroes, and then people begin to come out, and then there's a whole rebellion, which is what we're trying to avoid. So I do think that we need to critically assess and look at the merits of that act and see areas where there are loopholes that are not straightforward, where people or law enforcement agencies can use it as a tool to target certain individuals.
Okay, very quickly. The Cybercrime Act of 2015 has been very controversial. We have had occasions in the past to say that the police is abusing it. Every little thing, they will say Section 24 of the Cybercrime Act, and that's the same thing that they are using this time around. Well, is the application appropriate now or not? In the charge sheet, and I think Sowore is in court this morning, they are saying, one, he was threatening to incite Nigerians. Two, he referred to Egbetokun as an illegal Inspector General of Police. And third, he said with the illegality of the IGP, he's likely to face NSAS protest part 2. That exactly is what the charge sheet that I read was saying. However, clearly, the Egbetokun as Inspector General of Police is not an illegal IGP. He's in that position, having been appointed to it by the President, Commander-in-Chief, and also the Police Council. And everybody knew of that. But that's basically what they are relying on. The other issue that came up yesterday was that Sowore rejected the conditions for the administrative bill that the police was offering him. And I pointed out what Afenifere, SAN, has said about the decision by Ada JCA in Dasuki versus Director General SSS, a 2020 case. Now, the third part of it that people should pay very close attention to is that generally, as a principle, now that the matter is in court, we're not commenting about the details, is that, look, you can't just go on X or WhatsApp and write what you like. So that is what the police is trying to do, and also the other security agencies, that you can be held liable, and that there is a law in Nigeria called the Cybercrime Act. You can't incite violence, you can't abuse people, you can't just say what you like, because even that arena is governed, and there are books on cybercrime offenses and all of that. Finally, it is clear that this was not an issue about traffic, about checkpoints. Because yesterday the conversation was about checkpoint and police trying to stop him, and but now it is clear that that's not what the police is relying upon. They are relying on an issue of, threat to incite and also defining the Inspector General of Police as illegal.
It was quite confusing for me.
The court will look at the matter and the court would see whether, in fact, in this particular instance, that Cybercrime Act is applicable.
You see, the truth is, yesterday when I was telling you Nigeria is cruise, you thought I was joking. So from the case of stopping you on the road that they used to, because it's a checkpoint case that they used to invite him.
Invite him, yes.
But they now veered off into Cybercrime Act. We all know that the police is fishing. So you see, when they keep coming under this Cybercrime Act, we should ask, how can we also sue them for the lies they tell using social media as a medium? Because I can bring out many articles that has been written by the police and that they had lied on, and all of that. Yeah. That you have seen consistently where the police, doesn't tell the truth. Well, okay, I'm not sure you were here, are you? We're both here, Dr. Batina, when we brought that police officer from Kano, police spokesperson, when that bombing happened, that on air here, he contradicted himself and he proved to the world that he was lying. And the world saw it. All we just did was to ask questions. So who holds them accountable? Because they are so quick. And the power they have is that they can arrest. Once they arrest you, they dispossess you of the power. Which is very sad. I'm hearing that, okay, we need to go. But, Oji, this matter we need to... This country is fast becoming a joke.
Yeah, we will continue to highlight this story. Well, in another development, the leadership of the Yoruba social cultural group Afenifere has called on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to release the detained leader of the indigenous peoples of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. The group said on Tuesday that fair hearing for the IPOB leader may no longer be guaranteed due to controversial and conflicting legal proceedings in different courts. The group also argued that Kanu should be released in the interest of justice and national reconciliation, and that there is no justification for his continued detention without trial. Dr. Abati, the group described him as a political detainee, but it's just... I was quite interested in this story because, Afenifere is the Yoruba group and then IPOB is the Igbo group. Go ahead. Really
well, the Afenifere, under the leadership of Baba Adebanjo, has been very consistent in saying that, look, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu should be freed and that a political solution should be found to this particular case. And now this particular meeting was presided over at the home of Chief Adebanjo in Sanya-Ugbo in Ogun State, which is where the Afenifere usually meets. And, the Oba Oladipo Olaitan and our good friend Prince Faloye signed this particular statement. One, they are asking that Nnamdi Kanu, should be released because this will look like something that can be resolved in the interest of national unity and reconciliation. So Afenifere is consistent in that regard. Yeah. Now, it's an issue that came up under President Buhari. President Buhari said at the time that the courts should be allowed to do their job. But the wheel of justice grinds very slowly in Nigeria. And now Afenifere is taking up the matter again, saying President Tinubu should look at this matter and make sure it is resolved. That's one. Two, the group also decided that Dele Farotimi is now the National Organizing Secretary of Afenifere, as a sign of support and in recognition of his activism, and commitment within the public space.
All right.
But Dele Farotimi himself has not spoken. There were other issues in that statement, but the key one would be about state police. Afenifere also said, look, there's clear evidence that the time has come for state police.
All right.
We know that the governors, 36 of them, have already endorsed state police. So that's precisely, and Afenifere as a body, social-cultural body, is acting within its legitimate rights to express his own views. But would the president listen?
That's another question.
That's the question.
Yeah, so you talked about President Buhari. This happening under his time. Well, in another development, reactions have trailed his comments that is made by former President Muhammadu Buhari, who over the weekend said he now leaves off the income from renting out one of his 2 houses in Kaduna, and that he's better and healthier now than when he was in office. Buhari spoke in Katsina on Saturday at the All Progressives Congress caucus meeting ahead of the state's forthcoming LG election. He also said Nigeria is a difficult country to govern, but most Nigerians are on our way. Ayo, a quick comment from you.
So he's maintained that last stance for a while, that it's even easier sometimes to even tend to his cattle than it is to. But let me say that, with all due respect, that's actually not very correct.
I mean,
because the payout alone after he left office, approved by Ramfac, was 300% of his annual salary. And we also know the pension allocation for past president. So he's not just living off his rental income. He's living quite a very comfortable life funded by the Nigerian taxpayer as a result of him having served in the past.
I was going to ask, what happened to the taxes,
except he refused to collect pensions, or he refused to collect the severance pay that we can say.
Oh, just like Donald Trump. You know, Donald Trump is not collecting salary
now. So except he's saying that he refused. But leaders should stop. They should own it. Yes. Some of them oversaw the process of these jumbo payouts for them after they leave office and ensuring a life that's very comfortable afterwards. So as much as he wants to put up this, persona of I'm humble, I'm not doing anything, taxpayers are funding your life, sir.
Okay, let us wait to hear from Garba Shehu. I mean, we want to hear whether former President Buhari,
they pay them pension.
Is he lying? Is he lying? Let's find out.
Let's find out from Garba
Shehu. We are calling him now.
If it's his own car that is driving, if it's his own fuel that is using, or the domestic, or the police,
he says he's living on rental income. All right. Okay.
Don't worry. In fact, maybe you should do Airbnb.
Airbnb with it. We're waiting for a response. Well, let's head over now to the United States, where Nigerians in the diaspora have reacted to President Donald Trump's executive order suspending funding for HIV treatment programs in Nigeria and other developing nations. Let me read Dr. Chinonso's tweet. His tweet reads in part. He talked about the fact that, it's quite expensive. He wrote that if they cut it, the infections will rise, people will die from AIDS, drugs are not available, our already burdened healthcare system will be burdened further. These are just snippets of, the ripple effect. And let's not forget that diseases like tuberculosis and malaria are being affected also by pausing of the funding. Yeah. Well, this is a really, really hard story. In the meantime, the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency has identified nearly 2 million illegal immigrants for deportation from the country, with 3,690 Nigerians on the list. Mexico had the highest number of persons penciled for deportation, with 252,000 Mexicans. Well, an emotional Selena Gomez broke down in tears in a viral video sympathizing with her fellow citizens.
I just want to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do.
I mean, this is really...
With due respect, so sorry, Selena.
Sorry for Selena.
But the people that voted Trump, I don't know when they voted. I never start. He don't cast. Please, they should just beg Air Peace to get plane available. Else Trump will carry those Nigerians in military prayer, handcuff them. You'll be like, shake, and bring them.
3,690 Nigerians. Those families and people out there, I hope that they find some sort of succor. Selena Gomez is crying, but crying will not solve the problem. Well, I wish we had more time. I'd love to thank you all for your great analysis, as always, on What's Trending Today. Well, that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending Today. I'll see you all tomorrow.